Han Li, in the mid-nascent soul stage, was inside the Mineral Mountain. The ancient demon's sacred ancestor, whose power was comparable to a deity transformation cultivator, wanted to open the seal of the 9-level altar, to release the true demon Che. If he succeeded, the entire human world would be demonized. Seeing that disaster was imminent, Zhuan Qingzi and Master Kimiao deployed their final resort, replicas of a heavenly spiritual treasure. They simultaneously struck the giant Volf form of the ancient demon's sacred ancestor, yet they were still no match. Seeing this, Zhuan Qingzi and Master Kimiao's expressions changed drastically. Han Li, who had been overlooked until now, saw that even after they used such a powerful treasure, they were still in a losing position. He finally couldn't hold back any longer, and decided to lend them a hand. Han Li immediately summoned his 3-leaf fan, pouring almost all of his body's spiritual power into it. The astonishing spiritual power radiating from the 3-leaf fan immediately attracted the attention of Zhuan Qingzi and the middle-aged cultivator. Almost simultaneously, they looked over, and the moment they saw the 3-leaf fan in Han Li's hand, Zhuan Qingzi cried out in shock, "Fellow Taoist, that treasure of yours." But Han Li had no intention of explaining. With a shake of the precious fan in his hand, a 3-colored flame erupted from its surface. It twisted and transformed, becoming a 3-colored firebird, 40 to 50 feet in size. With a phoenix-like cry, it flapped its wings and charged towards the distant yellow and red lights. As a result, before the astonished eyes of Zhuan Qingzi and the middle-aged cultivator, and to their utter shock, the 3-colored firebird exploded. A 3-colored halo appeared within the yellow and red lights. Then, as bean-sized golden and silver runes tumbled about, the 3-colored halo vanished in a flash. The yellow and red lights suddenly surged with power, and at the same time, wisps of golden and silver light appeared within them. Their attack, which had been on the losing end, immediately pushed back against the black light, instantly engulfing it. It slowly pressed down on the giant Volf's head with a menacing aura. This time, Yin Chiecha and Lin Yinping, along with the others, were fine. They had, beforehand, more or less seen Han Li use the 3-goose fan, but when Nianqi Shang and Hua Tianqi were stunned, they couldn't help but glance at Han Li a couple more times, a trace of surprise flashing in their eyes. Zhuan Qingzi and Kimiao Zhenren, however, were both surprised and overjoyed, although they didn't know what Han Li's 3-goose fan was a replica of. Its power was clearly no less than the Pingshan seal and the Qi Minggu. Immediately, the two of them, without a second thought, hurriedly activated their own treasures. The yellow and red glows flared up once more as they prepared to seize this rare opportunity. They would borrow the power of the 3 treasures to eliminate this avatar of the Drum Demon's sacred ancestor in one fell swoop. After striking with the fan, Han Li's face was abnormally pale. With a flick of his long sleeve, a shimmering jade bottle appeared in his hand. He quickly poured a drop of spiritual liquid into his mouth. His originally depleted spiritual power was instantly replenished. Just after he finished doing all this, suddenly, a shrill Volf howl was heard. Han Li's heart tightened. He hurriedly raised his head to look. He saw the giant Volf on the altar, its form suddenly enveloped by a layer of blinding black light. The howl came from within it, but no one could see the situation inside. Even when Han Li's expression shifted, and he activated his bright-side spirit eyes, a blue light flickering in his pupils, he was still unable to see through this layer of black light. This made him frown. Suddenly, Han Li felt something flash within the black light. Then, the silver light barrier on his body flickered, and a ball of cold light burst forth. What was that? Something just cut inconceivably right through. He didn't even have a chance to react. No. Seeing this bizarre situation, Han Li's heart skipped a beat. Without a second thought, his body flickered, but then, a crisp cracking sound echoed in his ears. Following that were two dull thuds. Han Li's body shuddered, and he was sent flying. A single sound. A surprised voice came from within the black light on the altar. It was followed by a cold snort. Something flashed again. Master. Dodge. It was Ta Lang. His panicked voice rang out in Han Li's spiritual sea. And at almost the same instant, a figure flashed in front of Han Li. A series of bangs echoed out. The figure stumbled back several steps. It was the one who had been hiding near Han Li. The humanoid puppet, the green light covering its body, now had, at its chest and dantian, 2 strange short blades sticking out. They were embedded halfway into the puppet's body. After being knocked back 7 or 8 zhang, Han Li felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. Shocked and enraged, he flared his spiritual power, and finally stabilized his body. But when he looked down at himself, he couldn't help but gasp. His primal steel shield, the silver light barrier, and the protective azure aura had all been pierced by a fist-sized hole. The robe over his abdomen was torn, and the brilliant silver-gold battle armor, formed from his gold-devouring beetles, had also been pierced through. It revealed the onyx inner armor underneath. This inner armor had a gash several inches long, and a strange, shimmering silver blade was stuck in it. It seemed to have penetrated slightly into his abdomen. Azure light flashed across his face as he let out a low grunt. His entire body, simultaneously revealed, a layer of faint golden light. The strange blade instantly seemed to be repelled by a powerful force. With a whoosh, it was deflected and shot high into the sky. His body swayed slightly, and with a move of his arm, he snatched the strange object into his hand. Only then did he get a clear look at its original form. It was about half a foot long and slightly curved, like a fragment of an exceptionally sharp crescent moon blade. But after a few careful glances, he realized this was actually a sharp nail from a wolf's claw. Han Li's heart skipped a beat. He looked down again at the wound on his lower abdomen. He saw a wound that was 2 or 3 inches deep, but not a single drop of blood flowed out. Instead, the exposed flesh was unusually crystalline, and within the crystal-like flesh were faint golden threads. This was the result of him cultivating the first layer of the Nether King's art. It made his body almost as tough as metal. Otherwise, with that last attack, even with his many layers of protection, his dantian probably would have been pierced right through, and he would have collapsed on the spot. This so-called heavenly wolf drill was truly terrifying. Han Li was horrified. He raised his hand and looked toward the humanoid puppet in front of him. The spots where it had been struck by the other two bloody wolf nails were flashing with 5-colored spiritual light. Although they had penetrated halfway into its body, it seemed to be completely unharmed. Seeing this, he immediately felt a sense of relief. It seemed that this tough puppet body refined with the 5 elements was truly not so easily destroyed. Inside the black aura, sacred ancestor Gumo, whose attack should have been a guaranteed hit, found that it had failed one after another. He was equally astonished. You see, the heavenly wolf drill he just used was one of this silver wolf's most powerful divine abilities. Each time it is used, it requires the destruction of one of the silver nails on its fur claws, and the nails on these wolf claws were each cultivated by the silver wolf back in the day. Spending countless years of painstaking effort, its power was so great that even a spirit transformation stage cultivator wouldn't dare to face it head-on. Of course, this was from the clone of the Yuan Sha sacred ancestor, activated with his divine sense and depleted power. Naturally, its power was greatly reduced. But even so, for 3 of them to be blocked in succession by a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator, the ancient demon sacred ancestor was naturally a bit stunned. At that moment, after the black mist on the altar receded, the giant wolf's enormous body had vanished without a trace. In its place appeared a slender figure. It was the giant wolf, the black-robed woman who had reverted to her human form. But at this moment, she was no longer in a black robe. Instead, her entire body was encased within a suit of ferocious battle armor. This armor was glossy and pitch black, with the head of a 2-horned ghost emblazoned on the front. From its shoulders and limbs, several long black spikes protruded, shimmering with a sinister chill. One look was enough to send a shiver down your spine. The black-robed woman gave Han Li a cold glance. This is. Han Li also took a sharp breath of cold air. This is the true demon armor of the ancient demons. As long as one possesses a demonized body, an ancient demon can condense a large amount of true demonic chi to form it around their body. Not only is its defense extremely strong, but they can also use the demonic chi in the armor to greatly enhance their abilities. During the ancient Great War, Arya race and the human cultivators suffered greatly at the hands of this armor. Fortunately, this ability seems to be possessed by only some of the ancient demons. They have this special ability. Most ancient demons do not have this power. Otherwise, whether we could have one that wore back then would be a different story. Ying Yue explained to Han Li with a solemn expression. You remember something like this. Han Li was a bit surprised. At the same time, with a thought, his humanoid puppet moved. He pulled the 2 silver blades from his body, and with a flash, put them away. Immediately after, a 5-colored light flowed over the wounds, and they actually began to gradually heal, almost at the same time. The golden heavy armor on his lower abdomen, which had been pierced, also returned to its original state. As for that silver light shield, he simply retracted it, and once again, it transformed back into a small silver shield, blocking his front. I'm not exactly sure what's happening either. It seems my past memories are gradually awakening. Things that were once blurry, double quotes are now crystal clear, and many things I never knew have surfaced. He replied with a bitter smile. His eyes flickered with uncertainty. and he fell silent. The humanoid puppet, however, flickered, and stood shoulder to shoulder with him. Just then, the black-robed woman withdrew her gaze from Han Li. She looked up at the black light barrier, which was already under the pressure of the 3 arrows, and teetering on the verge of collapse. A strange expression appeared on her face. Suddenly, she formed a hand seal, and a crisp, pleasant-sounding incantation came from her lips. Finally, with a flick of her slender finger, a drop of inconspicuous fresh blood shot out and landed on the nearby stone tablet that was inlaid with a painted dragon. At this moment, it was engulfed by a swirling black light. Immediately, a loud humming sound erupted. The stone pillars surrounding the altar, as if in response, began to shake even more violently. A grim look flashed across the black-armored woman's face. Every strand of hair on her head stood on end. Her expression instantly turned ferocious. The altar beneath her feet began to tremble slightly. Amid flashes of black light, parts of its surface actually began to shatter and break apart piece by piece. Instantly, countless streams of pitch-black demonic energy shot up into the sky from the cracks. Seeing this, the black-armored woman's eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of madness. She let out a triumphant, loud laugh. Then, pointing towards the sky, she shouted the word, "Break." The sound was sharp and piercing. The dark energy from the altar instantly shot towards the sky, condensing and intertwining. After churning for a moment, it actually transformed into a black demonic form. This demonic form was as large as a pavilion, but it had a curvaceous figure and was also clad in battle armor, and the style of the armor was surprisingly identical to the black armor this woman was wearing. However, the head of the demonic form was that of a woman with delicate features, but with a pair of exquisite short horns growing on her head. Her eyes were tightly shut. Slayer of the same clan, a demonic form was in the air. Dharma Protector Huashianqi's senior brothers' expression changed drastically as he cried out in alarm. Han Li, Zhuan Qingzi, and the others were also greatly astonished. And in that very instant, the giant demonic form slowly opened its eyes. A pair of pupils, like the purple stars in the endless night sky, shone brightly. Just then, the black light above the demonic form's head finally failed to withstand the combined power of the 3 treasures, and completely collapsed, transforming into countless spakes of black light that fell down. With nothing to block it, the yellow and red light unceremoniously pressed down, looking as if it would cover the sky and the earth. It was as if a large piece of a huge, yellow-red canopy of light had appeared above the altar. Its aura was absolutely astonishing. The demonic form seemed to sense the anomaly in the sky. It raised its head and gave it a cold glance, looking at the yellow and red light about to descend on its head. It then casually raised a single hand, and gently slapped towards the sky, with a deafening boom. A black demonic claw as large as a tree appeared out of thin air in the sky. Like scooping the moon from the sea, it grabbed upwards. With a flash of black light, its 5 fingers unexpectedly grabbed the yellow-red canopy, clawing 5 huge, dark ashes into it. Immediately after, as the 5 claws closed, that giant seal and the small crimson bone strangely appeared between its 5 fingers at the same time. In the next moment, the yellow and red light that filled the sky was like it vanished in a dreamlike instant, without a trace. Everyone who saw this was stunned. They were utterly dumbfounded. I lowered my head and looked at the second treasure in my hands. As a purple light flashed, the voice of a strange woman unexpectedly came out. The voice was ice-cold and held a hint of confusion. Is this the human realm? At this moment, high in the sky with his eyes closed, was Hua Tianchi. The silver light on his body had already condensed into a silver Wolf's claw on his back. It looked as if it was about to burst forth, but when the Wolf's claw caught a glimpse of the distant demon avatar, it immediately retracted back into his body in shock. Then, Hua Tianchi's body trembled. His eyes snapped open as he let out a terrified shriek. The transcendent divine sense technique. This is the true divine sense of the Yuansha sacred clan. This cry caused the expressions of all the cultivators to change drastically. Zhuan Qingzi and Master Kimiao turned deathly pale, because that demon avatar had manifested a demonic claw, and with the speed of lightning, clenched its 5 fingers into a fist. The dull yellow seal and the bright red bone within it instantly exploded to replicas of heaven-reaching spirit treasures, were crushed into dust just like that. Then, without even a glance at the sky, the demon avatar slowly stretched its arms. It turned its head to look down at the woman in black armor below. The woman in black armor, in turn, looked up with an expressionless face. After their eyes met for a moment, the demon avatar spoke. Not bad. You're actually still alive. It seems I didn't waste all that effort back then, sending you to the human realm. Did you perform the ritual to bring me here this time? Double quotes. Just to clean up these ants, Don't you think that's a bit of a waste? You should know. You have already summoned me twice before. After this summoning, that wisp of memory I planted in your divine consciousness, double quotes dot will vanish completely, and the true demonic cha consumed to summon me. The feat can be used for direct refinement. Into one body, we have the holy ancestor clan, you are me, and I am you. If I had any other choice, I would not have resorted to this desperate measure. If I hadn't borrowed from what's beneath this altar, the leaking true demon cha, in my current state, I would have no power to summon you out again. The black-armored woman, however, said nothing, coldly replying, so that's how it is. I was wondering why materializing this time was so strenuous. So, you didn't use your own demonic energy to summon me across the realms. It seems I must act quickly. This demonic energy, I wonder how long it can sustain my form. The giant demon statue nodded. It looked at the dark demonic energy still pouring continuously from the altar into its defeat, and spoke faintly. Then, it raised a hand and looked towards the crowd. All the humans and demons, when swept by the statue's cold and merciless gaze, all shuddered and became extremely vigilant. A few of them even began to silently retreat. But the corner of the demon statue's mouth seemed to twitch. Then, it raised a single hand, extended a massive demonic finger, and flicked it gently in a certain direction. With a piercing sound, something flashed and vanished in an instant. The servant beast that was entangled in a fight with the military-looking demon suddenly let out a shrill and miserable scream. Its body suddenly swelled up, and with a boom, this fierce creature inexplicably self-destructed. This scene caused the silver-red yaksha, who was fighting another demon nearby, to tremble in fear. Without a second thought, it flapped its wings, its body blurring as it cast the wind escape technique. It vanished along with a gust of wind. The statue gave a cold snort. With one hand, without any hesitation, with a grab at the empty space where the scarlet leaf yaksha had vanished, with a loud boom, an enormous demonic claw flashed menacingly and materialized directly in the void above. It swooped down in a seemingly light and casual motion. A ball of pure light exploded within the demonic claw. The wind escape art was broken so easily. The figure of the silver-winged yaksha was revealed within the chaos. But at this moment, this fiend's pair of silver wings, along with its entire body, were bound by a faint black energy that had appeared out of thin air. Seeing the demonic claw upon it, it found itself completely unable to move an inch. In its shock and fury, the silver-winged yakshas will to fight to the death surged. In the instant the demonic claw descended, it let out a grim snort. Countless gray threads shot out from its body. The moment they left its body, they all exploded, and a gray light flashed. A tremendous rumbling sound erupted. The display was incredibly astonishing, but as the demonic claw's 5 fingers closed shut, a flash of black light appeared. The gray light and the sound of the explosion, as if meeting their nemesis, were instantly extinguished without a trace, and as a black, film-like fluid ignited around the silver-winged yaksha's body, its incredibly tough flying corpse body was instantly turned into a large pile of ash. Its nascent soul didn't even have a chance to escape. Then, the demonic claw flashed and vanished from the air. In succession, 2 demons, equivalent to the late nascent soul stage, were effortlessly annihilated by the demonic phantom. Everyone else's last shred of doubt completely vanished. Even if this demonic phantom wasn't truly that manifestation of sacred ancestor Yuanchu's divine consciousness, it had to be from the ancient demon realm, another ancient demonic patriarch who had descended upon this world. Either way, it was an existence they could not possibly resist. A chill immediately ran through their hearts. Everyone scattered in an instant. No one dared to remain where they were. Those who could hide, hid. Those who could flee, fled. They were terrified of being locked on as the demonic phantom's next target. Homli also did not dare to stay put. With a clap of thunder behind him, he hastily transformed into a streak of silver fox lightning and shot out. But when his figure flashed and reappeared over 20 yards away, a panicked woman's voice suddenly transmitted into her ear. Zuling, quickly release it and fuse into Ling Long. It's the only way. We'll have a sliver of hope to save our lives. This was the message transmitted to her by that Longmeng, who was possessing Hua Tianchi. It seemed the appearance of the demon image had finally thrown even this ever-confident fiendish consort into a great panic. Homli was startled upon hearing this, his face filled with hesitation. But just then, the demon image above the altar shifted its gaze, and instantly spotted the spirit Vereda Peacock in the distance. It actually let out a soft exclamation of surprise. A spirit Vereda Peacock, 5-colored spiritual light. To think such a rare spiritual creature still exists in the mortal realm. As it happens, I have a use for this spiritual light. The Asura muttered to itself, and without hesitation, pointed a finger towards the distance, at the ancient peacock possessed by the young man named Su. At this, the possessed young man Su was naturally terrified, while driving the spiritual bird to flee towards a corner of the space. As a streak of escaping light, he gritted his teeth, and took the power of true essence from his nascent soul, forcibly pouring it into the peacock's body. With a dull thud, the five-colored spiritual light became blindingly bright again, solidifying into a thick, tangible barrier of light that protected the peacock within. The radiance was like the sun, making it impossible for anyone to look at it directly. Seeing this, the Asura revealed a cold smirk, flicked its finger lightly, and then casually made a grasping motion with its back hand. With a tremendous boom, one side of the five-colored barrier caved in. The peacock and its aura were instantly knocked flying, tumbling over and over. It struggled to stabilize itself again. A massive demonic claw flashed out of the void. In an instant, it snatched the spirit-sniffing peacock, gripping it viciously in its hand. Seeing this, Lin Yinping's face turned pale with fright. But enveloped by the demonic flames within the claw, the five-colored aura seemed to be barely holding on. Seeing this, the demonic form, a grim, black light flashed in its eyes. The demonic claw immediately clenched its 5 fingers, and instantly, the aura was squeezed and deformed like a ball of dough. After a mournful cry, the five-colored aura was violently shattered. The young man surnamed Su cried out in terror, but as soon as the spirit sniffing peacock's true form was revealed, it was immediately grabbed by the demonic claw and crushed to bits. With a whoosh, the nascent soul of the young man surnamed Su seized the fleeting opportunity and shot out from beneath the demonic claw. The next moment, it reappeared over 60 feet away, revealing its form, but the demonic form seemed to have already known the exact location where it would escape. It had already moved to intercept its path. This time, the young man surnamed Su didn't even have time to scream. His nascent soul bizarrely self-destructed. A grand immortal master of the Azure Sky Prairie was thus completely erased from this world. Witnessing all of this, even Zhuan Qingzi and Master Kimiao, elders from the top righteous and demonic sects, began to show looks of panic. The demonic form's power was simply too immense. Faced with its dreadful might, they didn't even have the ability to withstand a single blow. If this continued, in the blink of an eye, -1 of them would be completely and utterly annihilated by the demonic form. Han Li's face turned a little pale, but his gaze remained calm. A cold glint faintly appeared in his eyes. What could he be thinking? Model. If Zhu Lin isn't released now, it will be too late. Only Ling Long can deal with this demon. Perhaps she has the ability to hold it off for a while. Don't worry. Neither of us will actually disappear. After a while, we will separate on our own. The woman's voice transmission continued in his ear. That demon consort, Long Meng, grew even more anxious. She repeatedly urged Han Li to release Ling Yu's primordial spirit. Han Li's face was grim as she wanted to merge with it, but he never replied. Fine. I promise you, I'll go over now. In his divine sense, Han Li suddenly thought of Ying Yue. Yue replied faintly, Master, what nonsense are you talking about? How do you know if you will truly recover after merging? And right now, your divine sense is far weaker than hers. After merging, she will be the dominant one. Han Li immediately retorted without thinking, Master, this is no time to worrying about that. If Long Meng and I don't merge our primordial spirits, we will be killed at any moment. If that's the case, we might as well take the risk, Ying Yue said calmly. Then, with a wave of his embroidered robe, a white fox shot out from within it. It flew straight towards Hua Tianqi in another location, and when Hua Tianqi saw this, he too flew over to meet it with great joy. Han Li stood in place, his expression ugly, but with his lips tightly shut. He ultimately said nothing more. After all, what Ying Yue said was indeed the best option. At this moment, just after the nascent soul of the young man surnamed Su was destroyed, the spirit rhino peacock's primordial spirit, controlling the demon core, also tried to fly out of the demonic claw. However, before it could escape the claw, it was hit by a black radiance, which enveloped it and instantly annihilated it. But the peacock master cried out, as it was enveloped by the raging demonic flames. In an instant, its body was turned to ash. But in the demonic claw, but a 5-colored, forest-like mist appeared within. The shimmering purple light was exceptionally clear and hazy. It was almost as if it were tangible. The moment it appeared, it was immediately caught by the demonic claw, which seized it in its grasp. Then, in a flash, it vanished from its original spot. The next moment, the demonic claw flashed into existence above the demon golem's head, clutching the radiant light, and became motionless in the air. The demon golem raised its hand and glanced at the 5-colored light. Its face, actually showed a hint of joy as it opened its mouth and spewed a cloud of viscous, ink-like demonic wind. The five-colored light was swept up into this wind. It spun rapidly in the wind, quickly condensing and shrinking. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a thumb-sized, five-colored spirit bead. Looking at this bead, the demon golem raised its hand and flicked it into its palm. It then turned and tossed it to the black-armored woman behind it, speaking in a flat tone. "This bead is somewhat useful to me. Later, you will find an opportunity to devise a way to send this bead back to the ancient demon realm. Do not lose it easily." Upon hearing this, the black-armored woman, a look of surprise flashed across her face, but she caught the bead without any hesitation. After a quick glance, her hands came together with a flash of black light, and the bead vanished mysteriously. It's unclear where she had stored it. After doing this, the ancient demon's gaze swept around, and silently fell upon the faint silver glow emanating from Han Li behind it. A cruel expression appeared on its refined face. It raised its finger again, aiming it at Han Li. Han Li's heart sank. With a single thought, the humanoid puppet flashed in front of him to block. Then, with one hand, it grabbed the item that was originally floating in front of Han Li, the Young Gong shield. It flew into its hand, and with a shake of this shield, immediately, a layer of dazzling, silver light enveloped and protected both Han Li and the puppet, while his other hand formed a seal. Five-colored lights flickered endlessly across his body. Meanwhile, Han Li quickly flipped one of his hands, and the three-goose fan appeared in his grasp. With his other hand, he pointed at the giant sword circling above his head. Instantly, the giant sword hummed and broke apart. Hundreds of dazzling golden swords circled and danced within a silver light. The sword lights rained down, faintly transforming into a single, giant golden lotus that bloomed around Han Li. Just as it became dazzlingly beautiful, a great roar of thunder erupted from between the lotus petals, and golden arcs of electricity flickered. A strange power also began to emanate from Han Li himself. Instantly, a layer of golden light appeared around him, and at the same time, his physical body flashed with a golden skin tone. He had even activated the Diamond Aegis technique. The cultivation technique was pushed to its limits, transforming his body into an indestructible form. This series of actions, Han Li completed in the blink of an eye, and yet, he didn't feel the slightest bit of reassurance. He knew very well that these seemingly indestructible defenses could be casually and easily broken through by this member of the Yuan-Sha sacred clan, and it wouldn't be surprising at all, because his greatest trump card against the opponent's attack was still the two restless items inside his body. Han Li thought with a solemn expression. The evil warding divine lightning flashed in his pupils. Looking at the golden arcs dancing on the golden lotus, his tone was slightly surprised, but his fingers, without the slightest pause, tapped twice with full force. Bang, bang, two clear, though not loud, sounds rang out. But after the first one, the golden lotus formed by the green bamboo becloud sword inexplicably developed a huge gap, and at the same time, its dazzling reflected light shattered inch by inch, ultimately crashing against the misty light of the diamond aegis. This golden light flashed wildly a few times. A moment later, with another crisp sound, it shattered, and in that brief instant, a blue light flashed in Han Li's eyes. He finally saw clearly what was attacking him. As he raised the three-goose fan's wing to meet it, a look of utter disbelief appeared on his face. The thing that broke through the golden light shield and the glowing lock was, surprisingly, a broad bean-sized, milky white orb, crystal clear. It was from that Yuan-Sha sacred clan, who had compressed their own divine abomination, directly solidifying it. To be able to do this, the amount of divine power required was unimaginable. No wonder this demonic apparition, with a casual flick, was something not even a late-stage, level 10 demonic beast could resist in the slightest. Han Li was inwardly shocked, but the three-leaf fan in his hand flashed with a three-colored glow. The gushing flame of light instantly condensed, forming a fire shield that appeared in front of him. On this shield were gold, silver, and red runes that swirled and flickered, looking incredibly mysterious. Finally, without a second thought, Han Li opened his mouth, and a ball of cyan light, enveloping a small cauldron, shot out. Almost at the same time, the golden light shield finally collapsed completely. The white orb flashed and struck the three-colored fire shield. With a loud boom, the fire shield failed to provide any effective defense and was shattered in a single blow. The three-colored flames seemed to have no effect on the orb at all. The orb shot straight into the ball of cyan light. Within the cyan light, the small cauldron trembled, and dense cyan threads erupted, forming a net. As the orb shot into it, it was forcefully blocked amidst the flashing cyan light. Han Li's face lit up with joy, while the demonic apparition was stunned. Its purple eyes glowed intensely as it stared at the small void heaven cauldron. Zhuan Qingzi and his senior brother had aghast expressions. They had all thought that Han Li would definitely, just like the silver-red leaf fork before him, be instantly killed by the self-detonation. That Zhuan Qingzi even had an extra, light yellow boundary-breaking talisman in his hand, preparing for Han Li's risky move to see if he could shatter this spatial barrier and escape. But he was also afraid that doing so would immediately draw the demonic elephant's attack. So he hesitated. Meanwhile, over there, the little fox manifested by Yin Yue had already shot over to Hua Tianqi's side. Immediately, a ball of fluorescent light escaped from the white fox's body, and in a flash, it entered Hua Tianqi's body. Hua Tianqi's figure immediately trembled, and she froze motionless in midair. Interesting, you were actually able to block a strike from my divine sense. Let this sacred ancestor see what kind of treasure it is. I said a word to Dandan. Then, facing the distant Han Li, I slapped the empty air with one hand. With a loud sound, a massive black hand, as large as a small mountain, appeared above Han Li's head, and pressed down silently. Han Li's heart sank. A clap of thunder sounded behind him as he tried to use his thunder escape art to flee. But, as the light flashed behind him, he felt the air around him hum, and several black bands appeared on his body. His wine thunder wings couldn't break through at all. Han Li was greatly shocked. Only now did he understand why the demonic beasts from before, who were masters of various escape arts, were unable to escape. Helpless, he could only use his divine sense to activate the Sutia cauldron in front of him. Densely packed green threads immediately shot through the air to meet the attack. At the same time, the humanoid puppet beside him raised a hand. After a rumbling thunder, a beam of emerald light, flashing with golden arcs, shot towards the black palm. Although the green threads from the Sutia cauldron were incredibly tough, under the oppressive power of this first layer, it clearly couldn't unleash much of its true power. As a result, the demonic palm merely slowed for an instant, and the threads shattered inch by inch. Then, the emerald light flashed, and struck the demonic palm. With a flash of golden arcs, it bored a hole the size of a tooth through it. But after a flash of black light, the hole vanished without a trace. This demonic palm, as if nothing had happened, continued to descend. He snatched Han Li's body, forcefully pulling it into his grasp. Then, without any mercy, he squeezed hard. With a bang, a faint light flashed. Han Li's body exploded. The demon, satisfied, immediately relaxed its five-fingered demonic hand, and with the back hand, reached for the Sutia cauldron again. But just then, a loud clap of thunder suddenly rang out. A silver fox flashed wildly a few times and shot out from under the demonic hand. After a few flashes, it appeared several dozen yards away, revealing a human figure. It was none other than Han Li. But at this moment, his face was unusually pale, looking as if he had lost a great deal of magical power. Meanwhile, the mangled corpse under the demonic claw flashed with a clear light, purified into spakes of spiritual light. It condensed into a cyan talisman, which unexpectedly wrapped around the Sutia cauldron, and vanished from its original spot. In the next moment, it reappeared above Han Li's head. The talisman's spiritual light had dimmed. This was the one Han Li had gotten from Tanfigate, the Wallen talisman. This talisman, Han Li, although he had refined it within his body for several years, was still far from truly mastering it. Han Li had imbued the Jianglin talisman, and plus, this talisman was of the wood element. By expending his magical power without reservation, he was just barely able to activate the talisman's divine ability. That's how, at the very moment the demonic hand was about to crush him, he used it to create a substitute body, and escaped a fatal blow. This scene naturally left the others even more stunned and bewildered, but the demonic figure sneered upon seeing this. It immediately raised a single hand and aimed at Han Li once more. At the same time, its 5 fingers bent slightly. Han Li's heart sank. Now, with all his magic treasures used up, he no longer had any confidence in withstanding the next round of attacks. In desperation, he could only grit his teeth in silence and push his remaining magic power into the void sky cauldron. He made the treasured item expand wildly, transforming it into a 10-foot shield in front of him. At the same time, golden and purple flames flashed all over his body, forming a protective spiritual light that completely enveloped him. The humanoid puppet also flashed and rushed in front of Han Li, with its hands brought together. A 5-colored divine light swirled continuously, dazzlingly brilliant. It had actually transformed itself into a defensive magic treasure. Seeing this series of actions from Han Li, the demon figure showed a flash of contempt. He flicked his 5 fingers lightly, but in that very instant, suddenly, A few strands of silver hair flashed in front of the demon figure. Immediately, bursts of white light exploded out of thin air. The demon figure's divine sense, which was close by, was shattered by something the moment it was released. The demon figure was slightly taken aback. Then, in the empty space between him and Han Li, a figure flickered. A graceful figure appeared out of nowhere, with shoulder-length silver hair and 2 pointed ears. She stared coldly at the demon figure. It was a woman with pointed ears, dressed in snow white, a strange woman in a long dress. "Who are you?" The demon figure sized up the person before him, a look of surprise and hidden resentment on his face. Han Li gazed at the woman's back, and couldn't help but let out a soft cry. The silver-haired woman heard Han Li's cry, and slowly turned her head, revealing a breathtakingly beautiful, expressionless face. Her bright, jet-black eyes seemed both strange and familiar to Han Li. The woman glanced at Han Li indifferently. Suddenly, she raised her palm and swung it through the air towards Han Li. Han Li was startled. His body instinctively shifted, and a blinding fluorescent light. It slashed down from the void right above his head, grazing past the tip of Han Li's head. The protective spiritual light, formed by the evil warding divine lightning and the purple apex fire, was silently cleaved in two. Unable to offer the slightest resistance, Han Li could almost feel the faint chill coming from its tip. Han Li's expression changed drastically. "I am Ling Long, the Grand Princess of the Yin clan. You should know full well what you did to my spiritual clone. The next time you dare call me by the name Yin Yuan, I will kill you." Although this was the way, Han Li, though fortunate enough to be unharmed, still had an extremely grim expression on his face. After the silver-haired woman finished speaking, she paid Han Li no further mind. Instead, she turned to gaze at the demonic phantom in the distance. "The Yin clan, what is your relationship with that old Wolf?" Azi. To everyone's great surprise, the demonic phantom didn't rush to attack the woman. Instead, it narrowed its eyes and asked a question. "Demon King Azi is my grandfather," the silver-haired woman replied coolly. "You're that old Wolf's granddaughter." The demonic phantom frowned. Clearly, this answer was not what it expected. "You know my grandfather." Ling Long's expression stirred, her voice tinged with surprise. "I wouldn't say I know him, but we fought twice during the expedition to the spirit realm all those years ago. I still have some admiration for that old Wolf's howling moon. Divine ability." The demonic phantom replied slowly. Hearing this, the silver-haired woman's fine eyebrows rose, but she fell silent. "Since you are a descendant of that old Wolf, it wouldn't be right for me to bully someone younger. How about this? You can leave this place. I will not stop you, but you must swear on your grandfather's name, an oath that you will not interfere or obstruct this sacred ancestor's avatar's business in this realm," the demonic phantom said, hesitating for a moment as its voice softened. "Clearly, this sacred ancestor Yuan Sha is so wary of that old ancestor Ao Z that he was letting me leave out of fear. Sacred ancestor Yuan Sha, you are far too arrogant. If your entire divine sense had descended upon this realm, I might have turned and fled. But this little bit of leaked true demonic energy can at most contain 1/10 of your consciousness, and that's being generous. Why should I leave?" Ling Long sneered, speaking bluntly. Hearing Ling Long's words, the demonic phantom's expression sank. "A mere, late-stage junior, who doesn't even have a physical body, dares to be so insolent. Even with only 1/10 of my divine sense, killing you would be as easy as flipping my hand. Since you, little girl, have spoken so boldly, then don't even think about leaving. This sacred ancestor will destroy you, both form and spirit." The demonic phantom seemed to be enraged by Ling Long's words. Without any more hesitation, it thrust a hand toward the silver-haired woman, grabbing at the air. As it spread its 5 fingers, a piercing sound tore through the void. Countless seemingly solid golden hairs instantly shot out from its large hand. A brilliant light filled the vast space. The aura was astonishing. Seeing this, Ling Long, without a word, opened her mouth. From her fragrant lips, she spat out a small, palm-sized, circular disc. This disc was pitch black, but after it expanded slightly, spakes of starlight suddenly appeared from within it, giving it an exceptionally mysterious look. As those golden hairs shot near, the circular disc spun slightly, letting out waves of humming sounds. At the same time, an invisible, sharp force emanated from the disc. Those seemingly extraordinary golden hairs, like moths drawn to a flame, all changed direction and shot right into it. In the blink of an eye, the brilliant color that filled the sky was completely swept away. The reverse heart disc. When the demonic phantom saw this, its body trembled as it cried out in shock, a look of utter shock on his face. In the distance, guarding the one who was left with only a curved scabbard, was senior brother Wen Nian, standing next to Hua Tianchi. Upon hearing the name of this reverse phase disc, his eyes immediately shot out a strange light, and he stared intently at the round disc in front of Ling Long, a peculiar expression appearing on his face. Meanwhile, Zhuan Qingzi and Reverend Kimiao and the others had been somewhat dazed ever since the silver-haired woman appeared. They were in a bit of a stupor, but after hearing the name Reverse Heart Disc, they couldn't help but look at each other, their expressions changing drastically. Then, their gazes, tinged with a hint of greed, also turned towards the distant disc. What is your relationship with the 7 great demon kings of the demon clan? Only the 7 great demon kings have the suppressing reverse star disc, along with the 3 sovereigns of the human race. They are the only ones qualified to have one each. After his initial shock, Wen Nian, with a hardened expression, yelled sternly,